It says right here, America needs to wake up or we're doomed. I don't know what this is about specifically, but I think America needed to wake up like a long time ago, to be honest. Yeah, we just talked about the Lego drama thing. We talked about it. They took down his like GoFundMe page. But what is this all about though?
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel.
What's
And
happening to
today we're going to be
America?
talking, I guess, in general about many issues that are plaguing American society, realistically world society for some of these issues, because they really are just that big of a problem, right? But, you know, just as an American, most of you watching this video as well, we're all Americans, right? So we, in some senses, in some terms, all deal with the same problems. You know, we deal at least with the same variations of the same problems, right? And I think that all the things that we're going to talk about in this video realistically are problems that every American is facing right now. And if you're not facing it right this very instant, it is something that's going to be coming to your backyard within the next few months, if not years. Now, on an off note here, I'm just going to go ahead and probably say the most positive thing I'm going to say in this entire
The Lego
video.
Batman one
You are
has.
watching Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight gameplay. This game just recently came out. It's pretty goddamn good, okay? So if you haven't played it, if you haven't got it already and you're into Lego or Batman or just a good game to spend some time on in general, you should probably play this game. With that being said, let's go ahead and fuck ourselves mentally for however long. So
Okay,
if
for
you've
those who are my American audiences, let me know if this is true or not. What's happening right now? Let's find
been
out.
watching the channel for an extended period of time now, you've probably seen some of these issues that I'm about to talk about be brought up before. For instance, mass surveillance or government overreach, constitutional rights, the effects of AI, the Iran war, and realistically a lot of the other political stuff that's been going on in the Trump administration, the Epstein files, all these different things, right? All these different problems that have, especially over the last like year or two, really started to kind of play into the main situations that we're all seeing all over the place. But as time continues to go on and these problems continue to worsen, and it seems like nobody really either gives a fuck or knows what to do, or if anything can even really be done, the situation is truthfully getting more and more bleak. I think people operate on this mental time frame that, oh, you know, we can just kick the can down the road a few more years and then suddenly like everything will hopefully be okay. Maybe we can wait the problems out or whatever, but there is no waiting your way out of this one. Honestly, with some of these situations, there is no voting your way out of this, right? It is getting to the point at some point where people have to actually be fed the fuck up, where people actually have to be tired enough of the status quo, the constant enshittification of everything around us, that something is actually done about any of this. So let's go ahead and just, I guess, do a quick recap of how things are going here in the United States, right? Because I haven't uploaded here for about 3 weeks or so. So let's just go ahead and think about, you know, some of the things that are going on right now. Number one, I don't know if any of
Hey,
you
Voji.
are noticing this, but gas is like $4-5 a gallon right now. Everything is so fucking expensive. It is so hard to do really anything at this point. Like if you're an average American, you know, you're just working your 40 hours or whatever
As
to
long
get
as there's hot water, the problem won't get solved.
by. You're spending $4 to $5 a gallon on gas to get to work. You're getting taxed out the asshole by the government. Groceries, rent, whatever expenses that you may have throughout your life, right? Those have gotten so...
Americans are conspiracy theorists because of all the weird shit their government does. I remember hearing about all those conspiracies when I was a kid and thinking, nah, these people are crazy to believe this. And nowadays, I learned half of the conspiracies. I remember where actually the U.S. government spending billions doing weird shit. Well, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. I'm like, if they haven't done experimentation on like cat girls, I don't want it, to be honest.
insane, astronomically high. Most people really just have no idea how to even live anymore. Now, this is a very convenient lifestyle, by the way. Now, not for the people, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's convenient that people can barely afford their rent, but it is convenient. It's just not convenient for the people who actually have to deal with it. It's not convenient for the American populace that things have gotten so shitty for us, you know? You go to pretty much any major city in the country, it is almost always a shithole. Violent crime is out of control. Theft is out of control. In some cities in America, you can walk down the sidewalk. There's human shit on the sidewalks. There's used drug needles all over the ground. Kids can't go outside and play anymore. Stores are shutting down because there's so much fucking stealing looting and so much shit going on that they can't even get insurance on the businesses anymore. They can't even afford to run in these places anymore. The job market completely fucking sucks. I mean, it's actually insane. We are seeing a rising number of Americans with college degrees who can't find solid work. You have people with 4-year degrees, and it's not even just useless degrees. You know, you have computer science, engineering majors, mathematicians, people who are going to law school, right? Like people who are doing things in college that should land them 6-figure jobs, comfortable salary jobs that will allow them a comfortable lifestyle. You have them working at Starbucks or at McDonald's on night shifts to make ends meet. The younger generations cannot and probably will not ever be able to afford a house. This was something that for boomers was pretty much a guarantee, but for the younger generations is so far out of reach that it's almost like winning the lottery, honestly, if you're a Gen Z homeowner. I am a Gen Z homeowner, and it legitimately feels like I won the fucking lottery every day when I woke up, right? And that's sad. That's not how this world should be. That's not how America should be, but that is the way that it is right now. And it never used to be this way. For our parents' generation, for our grandparents' generation, it really wasn't like this. Your grandfather could work a 9-to-5 job. His wife could stay at home and take care of 3 children. They would get a quality education. There were quality after-school programs. They got to play good sports. They had friends that they could play outside with. Everything was fine. You had your nice little car out in the driveway, your white picket fucking fence. Meanwhile, Gen Z is struggling to afford $1,400 apartments, and that's on the low end in a lot of metropolitans. Gen Z is struggling to find meaningful work, and the meaningful work that is actually technically available on paper is increasingly being taken by AI, you know? The thing that they're trying to market to everybody is, oh, it's gonna make your life so much better. It's gonna be so fucking awesome. It's gonna be so great. You're gonna have such a cool life when ChatGPT can make your fucking doctor appointments for you. Now let's go ahead and zoom out.
I'm like, there has been good beneficial or so of using AI. If I remember correctly, there was a thing or so that that AI was used or so to find a tumor or cancer cell or so. It's either one of the two. I forgot which one it was specifically. That they found it before, like, before it could get into severe critical conditions or so, or before it even began. They found it immediately. Like there's already like there's some good benefits of technology with AI at the end of the day, you know? I'm like, plus also at the same time, let's be honest here. Let's not beat around the bush here, okay? Who actually wants to work at a fast food place for most of their entire life, to be honest? It can be used for that, though. Things like ChatGPT, which is most data centers run on mostly are more murky. Like I use ChatGPT, like it helps me for a lot of the work, to be honest. Yeah, and the medical AI is useful for not really for the daily life. I'm like, yeah, but I use AI, for my personal things at the end of the day. So I'm just waiting for the universal basic income. Yeah, people focus on more of the bad things than the good things of the AI. Yeah, a lot of people do focus a lot about the bad things in general. But I'm like, let's keep it a buck here, to be honest. Remember, like in school specifically, that like you don't want to work at a dead end job, as in like the fast food industry. Like it's good to begin with, but then afterwards you want to move on from life from there and get a better job. That was taught in school. Like that literally they literally taught you this at school. Like it's fine to work at a fast food place at the very beginning early to gain experience and everything like that. But then afterwards you kind of want to move forward and get a better job, and get something a little more higher pay. But anyway, regarding ChatGPT, you can just paste a link and it may be able to get you a transcript if you give it the ability to write code. I'm not 100% percent of that since I run my own AI with my own tools, but I think ChatGPT can do that. Oh, I see. That's interesting. Never knew about that, to be honest. I just kind of use it helping me with like thumbnail stuff, and then like also at the same time helping me doing music related stuff, certain not transcript, but certain things to help me out on certain ideas and whatnot. So that's kind of like basically it. That's sort of how I got the transcript for the tree video. Ah, I see. Adapt or die. AI is the future. To be honest, you're not gonna stop the progression of humanity at the end of the day. I'm like, humans are supposed to evolve, you know, Whether you like it or not, that's just how it is. Either there was two course of nature it was going to happen. Either we go into a futuristic technological AI, or the world ends with a zombie apocalypse. It's gonna be either one of the two, to be frankly honest. I'm like, pick your poison.
Out of, the local situation that's going on to you right now, right? Let's look at our situation on a national basis. The United States federal government is completely captured. It's captured by foreign interests and foreign lobbying and foreign
Yeah,
spending.
basically.
It's captured by an elite cabal of pedophiles, abusers, pedophile adjacents, and people who are honestly covering up the grand conspiracy in and of itself. So in my opinion, they're just really as bad.
Yeah, to be honest, the people who are actually involved in the whole like the whole Epstein file stuff, I'd rather some of these politicians do actually get jail time, to be honest. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen until you get somebody who is literally not connected with any of them to actually be able to expose the files.
No longer efficient on the actual scale of helping people or improving the American lives in any way. The only efficiency the federal government exerts is in enforcing the law, enforcing power against people, mass surveillance, spending money on wars, enacting policies that actively destroy American households, actively destroy American lives. We are currently in a stalemate, in a war that they're acting as if constantly is going to be resolved. Every other day, it seems like we have President Trump or somebody, like Pete Hegseth or somebody coming out, the war is going to end here real soon. We're right at the end of the negotiations with Iran. Meanwhile, we spent hundreds of billions of dollars on the Iran war. All of the objectives that we set out really to achieve in the Iran war remain unachieved or halfway achieved at best. The Strait of Hormuz is currently controlled by Iran. The United States or no one of its allies really control it. We say we're blockading it, but realistically it's to no effect considering we don't even control it in the first place. Rumors from the negotiation table in this war that we started, we fought, we financed, that we wanted, right, at our governmental level. Rumors now suggest that the United States will essentially pay reparations to Iran through foreign investment funds to rebuild their infrastructure. The Iranian regime was technically toppled. We killed Khamenei, who was the current Ayatollah when the war broke out, but now his son is in control of Iran. The people that are now in control of Iran are effectively more hardliners and more anti-US, anti-Israel, anti-West than even previously Iran was. Iran's capabilities in the nuclear development sector were not destroyed or eliminated. They were delayed.
If I remember correctly, weren't the Iranian people like asking for help or so? Because they were getting because they shut down the internet, and then they were kind of like basically doing allegedly mass murdering their people. And then I saw them like actually cheering or so that they've killed what's his face or so. Like I saw some videos or so about that specifically. I'm not too sure. Can you guys? I don't know if it's that's a lie, Co. I don't know about that, to be honest. I'm like, at the end of the day, there was a video or so specifically from Asmongold that one of his viewers or so that was literally talking about it. Hey, Bionicle. The US government is so corrupted and rotten. They always talk like they are better in terms of freedom and whatnot, but really they are the same as China. They just have better propaganda or better at hiding it. Well, I'm not surprised, to be frankly honest. Like, I give benefit of the doubt at the end of the day. Like I said, I like looking at the problems at like multiple angles.
At best, Iran still has, we
That's what I said. I
believe,
said some
their
of them.
stockpile of uranium that they can enrich. They
said
still have
some
facilities
Iranian.
to do so. They're going to continue to build them further underground in the future to make them more impenetrable to
they did a
future
mass
U.S.
murder for a lot of
strikes.
the
They now control the
protesters.
Strait of Hormuz effectively. They are trying to, and probably will be able to, effectively charge taxes or fees or tolls on vessels to go through it. Keep in mind, the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important geopolitical locations on the planet because it controls quite a massive portion of the global oil trade through it. So the United States, while not even really doing much for the populace, right? Our lives are not getting any better. Our lives are not really markedly improving in any way, is constantly spitting in our faces, is constantly fucking us over, is fighting humiliating wars that we essentially are just refusing to try and win or do anything with. The war was never really in our best interest. The majority of Americans never supported the war. We never voted for the war, yet we funded the war. We supported the war directly through our taxpayer contributions, through our government carrying it out. And keep in mind, who was the war really for? Was it for the United States? Not necessarily. The real effective threat of Iran having nuclear weapons is their capabilities to strike primarily Israel. Some of the other Gulf allies, like Saudi Arabia, UAE, all these other countries, maybe even some countries in Europe. Iran is believed to have some missiles that are now capable of reaching some of the European states, right? So the United States, outside of our military installations in the area, we really face no direct nuclear threat from Iran. So realistically, who is this war being fought for? Well, it's being fought for our geopolitical interest in the Middle East. The United States wants to control the geopolitics of the Middle East, but it's really being fought on behalf of Israel. It's really being fought on behalf, if you really want to make the argument, of some of the lesser allies in the Arab states, some of the allies in Europe who could potentially be struck. It really has nothing to do with us. Yet we are the ones who predominantly fight the war on the behalf of Israel, on the behalf of all these other countries, right? But primarily, of course, for Israel. They are the ones who wanted this war to be carried out, and of course, we are the ones who effectively carried it out.
Because like the only reason why I really like wasn't talking about this specific part is because like I'm like so uninformed on this whole war thing, right? There's so many like different things because at the end of the day, if I remember correctly, the Iranians were using AI and like other shit or so to say like they won, basically just kind of like spreading like propaganda and stuff like that, saying that, well, they were just basically gaslighting people. Okay, they were just gaslighting, saying that they won and all this other shit. So I'm like, there was just so much misinformation. Plus, also at the same time, a lot of the information was on Twitter too, as well. I'm like, that is the last place I'm going to read on Twitter for my information about what the fuck is going on in the world or so. That's the last place I would probably look at, you know? So this is like kind of like, this is something that's a little bit out of my expertise, you know? So, that's what I'm saying. Their
For them.
song
And
is
this is a
fire
major
though.
problem
Shut the hell
because
up.
this is a symptom of the larger problem. The Iran war is a symptom of the larger problem that realistically has been a threat to the United States for a long time. We've even been hearing about this for decades now, about foreign influencing and lobbying in our country. I remember about a decade ago when Donald Trump first was running for president against Hillary Clinton back in 2016 with the whole Russiagate thing, where there was all of this influence that they said the Russians had been carrying out through propaganda on the internet, media campaigns, stuff like that, to effectively influence the federal presidential election. That was a big deal. That was something that the media covered a ton. And even here a couple weeks ago, I remember seeing a news story about how a mayor of a city, I can't remember which city in particular it was, in California, was exposed as being a Chinese agent. The literal mayor of a city pled guilty to being an agent for the Chinese federal government. Meanwhile, here in the United States, we have things like AIPAC, we have things in like our Congress, which are clearly bought, paid for, and influenced by the Israeli government. And meanwhile, nobody seems to have any fucking problem with this. Nobody seems to care whatsoever that this is actually happening. It's a problem if Russia influences the United States and our politics and our federal government. It's a problem when the Chinese influence American politics and the American government. It's a problem if the North Koreans, the Iranians, anyone else, if they meddle in the affairs of the government, if they meddle in the affairs of the Americans. But if the Israelis do it through AIPAC and through various other means, there seems to be no problem with this whatsoever. And as a result, we just fought a hundreds of billions of dollars war where Americans died, Americans were injured. We didn't even really achieve any of our objectives in said conflict. We didn't destroy their nuclear capabilities. We didn't decapitate this regime and destroy them and install some pro-America, pro-democratic area of control in the country, right? The Iranian people did not rise up and create some grand revolution that overthrew the government in their country. It's still kind of an ongoing bitter conflict, but nothing major really developed there. That was something that Trump suggested he wanted to happen. And it looks as if realistically the only positive outcome in this that can happen is if America essentially admits defeat, okay? We say, all right, you know what? Maybe we fucked up. And what that will entail is Iran will essentially be able to re-govern themselves however they want, like they're doing now. They're going to be able to control the Strait of Hormuz. They're going to gain a shit ton of geopolitical influence on the world. America is now humiliating itself in front of the entire planet, including all of our allies. America essentially put film on tape, for our enemies, quote unquote, China, Russia, whoever, to now review and see what mistakes we made in our military doctrine so that they can try to take advantage of that in the near future. We really didn't gain anything out of this. I mean, like, you as an American, what did you get? Do you feel safer tonight that we bombed Iran 200,000 fucking times? We blew up a school full of kids. We killed Khamenei. We killed some of the head generals or whatever who were immediately replaced by even worse, technically political people for the American outcome, right? Did you gain anything?
I saw specifically an Aspen Gold video or so about the uh wasn't like the because I know they killed the leader, right, in Iran, but then like the son took over or something like that. And then there was some kind of weird meme or something that's saying he's gay or something like I don't know how true that is. I'm just like I said, right? Twitter is like the last thing I saw. That I would expect my news to get information, but I just saw a meme or so specifically about it, and I saw Asmongold talking about it in a brief moment on that situation in general. So
Other than gas going to $4, maybe $5 a gallon, depending on where you
I thought
live?
that was
Did
pretty
you
funny in my
gain
personal
anything
opinion.
other than this overwhelming sense of doom and gloom that has been hanging over all of our heads as this war has dragged on and everything has gotten more expensive? Gasoline has gotten more expensive. Going and living your life has gotten more expensive. What has this benefited any of us? You know what I mean? Back hundreds of years ago, the United States fought wars in its self-interest. We used our military, even if offensively against other countries, for our own benefit. It wasn't for the benefit of our allies. It wasn't for the benefit of some other country or some other group of people across the planet or NATO or anything. It was shit like the Barbary Wars where, oh, pirates are fucking with our boats? Cool, we're gonna go kick some ass now. We believe God gave it our destiny to control the entire Western Hemisphere? Cool, let's go do that, right? These were what we used to apply the military for. Now we apply the military to police third world countries halfway around the planet and try to build democracies there in
Hmm.
countries that don't want democracies, that don't fucking like us, that don't want us there. We spend billions, if not trillions of dollars per year doing this. We get realistically what? Fuck all out of it. Like I said, gas goes up. These people fucking hate us. Americans go die for it. The cycle
I
continues.
thought they were there for the oil, to be honest, because that's what America is known for, is for the oil thing. I'm not sure. Like I said, this specific segment of the video, I'm not really that well informed, so I can't really say a lot on a subject that I'm not really well informed on.
What does anyone get out of it? Well, at least now all the houses in your local neighborhood are $450,000. They'll make really cool,
Well,
visual.
there wasn't like the whole housing thing on the pricing in general was like because of an influx of like immigration and stuff like that, like illegal immigration, like because of like there was like isn't that like technically part? It's not the whole entire thing, right? But that's like I know that's like that plays like a pretty like pivotal role in that too as well. Is because of the illegal migrants. They got oil coup to fortune sons playing in the background.
Artworks or something that you can admire as you walk down the sidewalk in a neighborhood you'll never be able to live in. But that's okay because half of that neighborhood is about to be bulldozed anyway because they need to build a new data center. And of course, they're going to build it right next door to your house. Never mind the fact that it's going to fuck up the water in your house. It's going to make the power in your house go through the roof in price. You're going to hear this constant, unavoidable, loud humming and whirring of these machines in this fucking massive data center. The lights are going to be so goddamn bright that you cannot avoid them. It'll be like the sun is in your window 24 hours a day. But it's okay because once again, ChatGPT will be able to make your doctor appointment for you, dude. You'll be able to ask Grok what's the true meaning of life and it'll give you some fucking pseudo-intellectual 3 paragraphs of shit that it compiled based on.
Most of the U.S. went into war with the Iran because Israel convinced them. Maybe oil played a role on it, but the U.S. wouldn't have rushed as much if they weren't getting pressured. That could be true, and plus at the same time, didn't like wasn't like I forgot who it was or so who controls the European section or so, right? Or the global, I don't know if it's the UN or whatever, or I don't know the that specific part on the other side or so specifically, right? I'm like, if I remember correctly, like Europe didn't want to, not Europe, but like, what is it? The UK didn't want any like is not participating in that specific war or not helping in what sort of like way, shape, or form. Well, granted, they do have their own problems that's happening over there, so I'm like, I give them a slide or so because at the end of the day, like the U.S. is kind of like the, I guess like it's not really the king, but it does really do feel like the US is kind of like the king of the world, to be honest, because they kind of like go to the US for like minimal stuff, you know. There's a lot of things that like, you know, that they go to like, you know, they go to the US for like being the king, you know. The US tells big lies. Everybody tells lies. I'm like, take a look at Russia, to be honest. I'm gonna take a look at Iran. Iran was going off with that, to be honest. But it just feels like the US is like doing like the like they're trying to be like I guess like the best example is like being the Superman of the world, I guess. Like trying to protect all, be all kind of type of thing, you know? Sometimes it feels like the US is the world police. That's what I'm saying here. So that's what it kind of feels like. It feels like the US is trying to be like this big world police, or they come up to like Big Brother Onichan US, you know. After World War II, the US pushed to be the peacekeeper, which is why we are what we are. Oh, is that really how it is, to be honest? Interesting, to be honest.
3 million articles and
I'm like, who
documents it
made them
read that
become the
other
world
people fucking wrote.
peace
So,
people
this is the new
anyways?
America. I hope everybody's loving your time here. I hope we're all loving our fucking experience, man. The greatest country in the world. This is what we've reduced ourselves to. As the greatest country in the world, the greatest empire that ever existed. America is the richest country that has ever existed in the history of ever. The American culture has become so exported to the rest of the world that in some ways it has become the default culture. And these data centers, that's another thing in and of itself. All of this shit that's happening. I mean, and this is happening all over the country. It's happening probably in every small, middle-sized town in the Midwest. Especially, I live in Ohio, okay? And like I said, every single town, every single county, damn near, it seems like in Ohio has proposed data centers. And keep in mind, here in Ohio, there's a lot of flat, fertile farmland, at least in like the center and the west of the state. You know, down in the southeast, it's a lot more hilly. But out in like, you know, the Midwest side of Ohio, there's a lot of flat, fertile farmland that is great for growing crops. And this is trying to be hogged up so that they can bulldoze all of these farms and build these massive data centers that emit pollution, emit noise pollution, and they're not going to make any of our lives better. I mean, they keep trying to market it to people like, oh,
Let me see. I want to take a look at that real quick. Hold on. I don't know if I'm spelling it correctly. So let's see, data centers emit significant pollutions, primarily driven by massive energy and cooling demands. The produce and directs greenhouse gases, which local air pollutants through power generation on site. Oh, hold on. Let me see. Do AI data centers. Okay, here we go. So yes, AI data centers emits multiple types of pollutions beyond greenhouse gas emissions. These facilities generate significant local air, water, chemical, and physical pollutions. Air pollution, running servers 24/7 requires immense amount of electricity when generated by fossil fuel. This causes mass CO emissions furthermore during the grid outages of high demand periods of data centers. Rely on diesel backup generators, which release a highly toxic nitrogen oxides and fine particles matter directly into the surroundings. Water consumptions and pollution. Data centers require millions of gallons of water daily for cooling, which can drain municipal drinking supplies. Additionally, the water discharge after cooling often contains chemical treatments and biocides and corrosion inhibitors that can accumulate in the locals. Chemical pollutions specialize in cooling systems and fire suppression equipment. Okay, noise and thermal pollution. I did not. I'm gonna be honest with you. I never thought a noise pollution can actually be a thing, to be honest. I never thought that would actually be true. The continuous operation of industrial cooling fans and HVAC systems creates persistent low frequency hums and vibrations that disrupt surrounding neighborhoods and local wildlife. The continuous exhaust of waste heat from these systems also create data heat islands, which can warm the local microclimates. Okay, that's interesting. Always been a thing? I never knew it was a thing, to be honest. Trump has stopped 10 wars, saved lives, helped millions, and fixed the economy. I see a great president. It's a thing. It generates huge amount of noise. You would hate living anywhere close to one. I see. I'm like, I don't think they're build. Are they building these data centers in like in the middle of town or something, or in the middle of a city, or are they building it off like in the distance? Like, how are they actually run or so? I doubt they're building it literally like dab nabbed in the middle of a city.
Oh, well, we build these AI data centers and then all of the stupid, pointless jobs get taken away. And then people have more time to spend doing cool shit. And then we can give everybody a paycheck from the government. They don't have to work. This is just not the way things are going to ever go. Like, this is that
I assume
result there
factories are
in and
like,
of
you
itself.
know,
To me, that
both.
already
Why would you
sounds
want
like
to
a
build it in the middle of the
decaying
goddamn
hellscape
city?
in and of itself. But that might be like the best case
That's just
outcome
weird.
in all of that, right? That might be the best opportunity that we get out of everything is, oh, well, only the pointless jobs will go away and stuff that really still matters will be around and people will find a way, right? That is the best outcome. But the realistic outcome, is it ever the best one? Is that the one that usually happens? Of course not. What's going to end up happening, and what people seem to just be completely unaware of in this entire thing, is these data centers are being built
Oh,
there
a
to
town. I
suppress you,
see.
to fuck you up more, to gain more control over your life. It has nothing to do with making things better for you. It's not about, well, we need to get more AI data centers so that the AI can improve itself, and then we can have AI
So the problem, yeah. So the problem with this, like, it's not. Well, I don't have a problem with the argument in general, right? The problem thing that I have with America in general, because this is always the thing with America, right? Big, big equals awesome, right? They always like to make like everything big or so. While if you look at like, in China specifically, right, when it comes to their specific AI and whatever, since they are restricted, right, when it comes to certain technological stuff, right? I'm talking about like the AI aspect. They decide to make do and they use, their specific AI uses less power and less, more shit in general, right? Compared to the American side, where the American has the access of all of these like stuff here and everything, and basically, because I compare to China's version of their AI, and then America's AI, right? I'm like, China is like, it's like feats better than compared to America's because they use less resources compared to America. I'm like,
robot humanoids and stuff in everybody's house so it can do
the
your
problem is
laundry and
America likes to
vacuum
make
for you
everything
and
bigger
cook,
and
and then
better,
all of the meaningful chores will be taken care of by your robot, dude. That is the outcome
Yeah,
that
because
we
they have to
keep
be
getting
more
marketed. That
efficient
is what
in
they keep
their
telling you is going to
version of
happen. We just have
AI.
your AI robot Fallout 4 looking assistant just make your doctor appointment or go to the grocery for you while you smoke weed, jack off, and play video games all day. Like, that's what they keep trying to tell people is going to happen, so that they're, oh, well, I like to smoke weed, jack off, and play video games all day. Of course I want AI. I want the humanoid robot. That's what they want people to think. It is almost like a pacification at mass at that point, right? That's what they're trying to sell you. But it's
Yeah, they always try to make like so much like, oh, we need to make all these data centers, we need to make it bigger, we need to make it better and stuff like that. But that's such an American mindset that they think bigger is better. That's what they always say. They always say this all the time. Bigger is always better. But then when you look at China's like AI in general, DeepSeek, right? Theirs is smaller and efficient, so it just makes it completely different compared to America's version. I'm like, America's like I bet you like it's kind of like basically slowly dying or so because of the whole data center stuff and everything like that. But then like if you look at like China's or so, theirs is more smaller, more efficient, and they can get shit done compared to the American one where it's always bigger, 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 always better.
fake oil. It's not real. This is not how it's going to happen. It's the same thing with the fucking flying cars and everything that people used to think was going to come of the future. Everyone thought we were going to live in the Jetsons. You know what I mean? Instead, we live in a hellscape that's probably like half as cool as it was then, you know? Life is like half as easy or fun or easygoing as it used to be, right? What you're really going to see is the expansion of the surveillance
How are you
state and the
posting links?
expansion
I don't
of
understand.
technocratic
I don't see a
control
link in
over the
that
populace. This
in
has
that
nothing to do with
sentence.
making things cool for you. It's about
That's
making
so
things
weird.
cool for technocrats, billionaires, the federal government, their allies in banking and in media and in finance, just things like that, right? It's not for you and me. It's for the upper echelon. That's who is going to benefit from all of this. The rich will get richer, the powerful will become more powerful than they already were. And that's
Oh,
just the
okay.
way
Never
that
mind
the
then.
whole thing goes. That's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way that the whole game gets played. These data centers will be used so that companies like Palantir, Flock, the NSA at the federal government level, the tech companies, it will be used so that they can expand their surveillance of you, their control over you, their data amassment. There has been this saying for a while now, honestly, that data is the new gold. Digital data is the new gold. You have a record of 1 million people, a file of that on your computer, you got $1 million right there in your pocket, right? That is why AI is being rolled out. It's being rolled out so all of this data that they amass and have already amassed and will continue to amass can be sifted through, can be fine combed so that they can find improvements in their systems that they can then use to strangulate the populace even more than they already do. They can fiscally fuck you even more than they already do. They can politically fuck you more than they already do. You have probably already seen, even in some of your neighborhoods, these flock cameras, popping up along the sides of the road that monitor how fast you're going. They monitor your car and can map out where you're driving around town without your permission or consent. They scan your license plate as they drive by. They try to identify facial and whatnot through the fucking windshield. It's all surveillance, okay? That's all that is. They market it like, oh, well, it's for safety. We want these things up so that if people are committing crimes, we can fucking use it to catch them, dude. It has nothing to do with that. It's the same thing as TSA. Remember when they told
You think you think the USA is learning from China, to be honest? Cause I'm like China has something similar to that, right? Where they have like facial scanning recognition and everything like that, you know? It almost kind of feels like that meme or so where that one guy is like has the noose around his head or so. It's China, and then the US gets revealed or so, and then China's like first time. It just kind of like reminds me of like from that in general, to be honest.
everybody after 9/11 with the Patriot Act and the introduction of TSA, the expansion of Homeland Security, the expansion of the surveillance state, the expansion of the NSA and their capabilities against the Americans. Remember when they told everybody it was going to stop the terrorists and it was going to make everybody safe and it was going to make America make sure no 9/11 could ever happen again? Did you know that TSA is credited with 0 terrorist attacks foiled on site at airports in their entire history? And even let's assume that if they put these cameras up or whatever, oh, it's going to make everyone safer. How many of these mass shootings, these terrorist incidents, these mass casualty incidents in America that have become all too common in our lifetimes, how many times have we later seen the media then report from the FBI that this person was on our radar, we here at the FBI, we were monitoring him. He had said he was going to kill 30 people in a shooting 5 times on Facebook, and we'd already seen it all 5 times, but we just couldn't get to him in time. So it's almost like the surveillance state doesn't work. It's almost like mass surveillance by the government, no matter what, isn't making anyone safer. It's not making anything more effective. It's not making our lives easier or better. In fact, it's doing the worst. It's doing the exact opposite of what we want it to do. So the government has time, money,
I see.
resources, whatever, to expand the surveillance state, to fight wars that are not in your interest with
The,
your
C- the
money.
TS,
They have the
TSA
ability
does
to
stop
bury the
terrorists.
Epstein files, make sure nothing ever really comes out of that. No one ever really faces consequences for that. But we don't have money for anything else.
That's why that's the thing is like I want to know like I would like it if he like kind of like showed proof and stuff like that in the video, as in like where he got like most of this stuff for his arguments and everything like that. Because like at the end of the day, it does feel like he's like frustrated. Like it does really sound like he's a frustrated person, which makes sense. It's understandable. The world is shit. The world is not in a very good ecosystem at this very moment. I understand. Frustrated of how like the world is, the whole AI thing, the data center, and all this other stuff. I don't think he has research. Like, I would like to know, like, you know, of like, just the backup all of this stuff instead of just using like gameplay. Like, I don't mind the gameplay, right? But I would like to if he posted like showing like, oh, this is showing here, and I got it from here, because like at the end of the day, right? Because where they taught me specifically, if you're going to be talking about a lot of these things in general, you kind of want to get the facts and read all of this stuff and everything, and then kind of like show it to present it to people. You always want to present the subject to them, and this is where I got it, and then cite it where you got it from and everything like that. That's kind of like basically it. The world is shit, but it's shit everywhere. To be honest, it's been shit like for like a very long time. To be frankly honest, like the world has been shit for quite a while. For God's sakes, I've been homeless 2 times. Okay, so I don't think. And this was a long time ago. Okay, all right. I'm not. We weren't living very peachy. Okay, we're definitely weren't living peachy even before the pandemic. Okay, all right. We were still struggling. Okay, all right. We were living on the poor side. I'm like, that's just how it is.
We don't have money to fix infrastructure with. We don't have money to take care of the problems in all of our major cities. We don't have the money to do really anything, apparently, that would actually positively affect the American people. Sorry, we're too busy actually blowing up a bunch of shit in Iran so that we have to come back and do it again in 6 months or look like we're fucking idiots. And the problem is, when you look at the news, when you look at the media, they don't represent any of the actual problems of the country. They don't represent the voice of Americans. They are the corporatized outlet of the federal government, of the rich, of the elite. They are the mouthpiece of these people. Some of them, like I think it's the Washington Post, I believe, is owned by Jeff Bezos, 95% of the news and media companies in the United States are owned by a handful of corporations. 95% of the broadcasted news in this country is owned by a handful of corporations. So when you live in a world like that, where the only true voices of people that actually is represented is through social media, it's in effect, we may as well live in like fucking, well, North Korea or somewhere. You
I'm
hear all
like, there's an application and stuff like that where you can get your news and everything instead of just looking at social media. I'm gonna be honest with you, getting your information from social media is probably one of the things you should really not get your information from. That's just like I said, that's my personal opinion. Okay, I don't think social media is where I would go to get my news on like what's happening in the world. Okay, all right. I have watched the US news once or twice. It's not news, it's heavily biased commentary on news. Well, I'm like, I know that like I think it was like Shoe on Head who advertises a specific application to get your news and everything. I've heard a lot of good things about it specifically. Like I don't really know too much about it at the end of the day, but like.
the time about China and how the government there is restrictive and they censor the people and spy on them and abuse them. But look at what our own government does to
Is that the
us. Look at
name?
what our own
Apparently that's
country
what it
does to
is.
us. And this is, the country that you're supposed to then be loyal to. And for me, I'm fine with being loyal to America. I love being American. I love the country. I love the people in this country. I love the ideals of this country. I love the history of this country. What I don't love and what I won't be a volunteer to or an ally to is the feds, the United States government, because they don't do anything for us. They support things like I said, flock cameras and all this other shit to expand the surveillance state. Now, these flock cameras to me are a really big problem. The surveillance in general, especially from these private corporations, is a big problem. And I'm going to be honest, man, it's one that, like I said, you can't vote your way out of this. There's no legislation where it's like, okay, the American people are going to vote whether or not we're going to war with input name of country. There is no voting for, are we going to install mass surveillance systems in your neighborhood so that we can identify everywhere you go and your driving patterns, your walking patterns, your face, everything?
Honestly, just watch news from other countries. Some nonprofit and less popular news sources may have more unbiased stuff. But anyways, if you want the truth, you gotta read stuff from everywhere. Sort of make your own opinion. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yourself, because like they taught you this in school, right? They literally taught you this in school. When you want to learn about the information of something, you never learn it from like one specific source. You usually read it from multiple different sources, and then you just come up with your own opinion afterwards. They've literally taught you this shit in school. Like no joke. I don't know if they still do, to be honest, but they taught you this shit. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, to be honest. Like, because at the end of the day, right? When I watch these specific YouTube channels, right? Like, like personally, I kind of like take them as entertainment format, right? Especially when it comes to like Maury, Sensitive Society, Optimus, and all this other stuff. I'm not really gonna get my like opinion or something like that, being swayed or something like that. I just kind of watch them for entertainment purposes because at the end of the day, right? These are entertainers. They're trying to entertain you. I wouldn't get my information, like my news source or my information, all that stuff from these specific people, in my personal opinion, right? Because they're just mostly commentary channels, right? They like to say their own opinion about the things that are happening around the world or things that are happening during the scene. And it's kind of like it. To be fair, kids these days can't read. Oh, right, you're right. I forgot about that actually. Yeah, I forgot. In today's day and age, a lot of kids don't know how to read now. That might be a problem, to be honest. Maybe you should stop giving the iPad to the kids.
We're going to spy on everything. There is no legislation ever on the ballot for that, really. And in actuality, 90% of the time, especially even in like local elections now, sadly, when you go to vote, you're essentially already voting for races that were already predetermined anyway. The whole country is gerrymandered and just completely gridlocked politically. Nothing ever changes. The whole point of this whole democratic voting system that we have is the people are supposed to be able to enact change, but both sides of the political aisle, the only two that are allowed to operate at any meaningful level in this country, are the exact same fucking thing in disguise of one another. They disagree on the 10% of fringe issues like, trans people or trans people in sports or supporting Black Lives Matter or being
Buenas, Edward.
woke
¿Cómo
or
estás?
Second Amendment, right? Those like fringe things they'll argue and bicker back and forth on, but sending infinite money to fight wars for foreign countries, that's something both sides are going to get down with. Expanding the surveillance state to abuse the population, that's something that both sides are going to be down with. Enacting essentially
Well, like, to be honest, the whole surveillance thing and then going that far or so about the surveillance thing is maybe a little bit too far, to be honest. I don't think they're going to start abusing people, to be frankly honest. Take care, King. Be safe. Like I said, right? Like, I assume this is all hypothetical, right? It could go that way. It could. I'm not saying that's not out of the realm of possibility, but like, do you guys really think they're gonna like start abusing people at that point? Eh, I don't know. Feels like a little bit of a stretch in my personal opinion.
no constructive legislation that will affect the country positively, both sides really do nothing for us. Like, there is no fucking voting our way out of any of this at this point, right? Who are you gonna vote for? Like in 2028, let's be real here. The presidential election is probably going to be Gavin Newsom for the Democrats and JD Vance for the Republicans. So you're going to get to vote for shitty candidate from California who wants to ID you and track you no matter what you're doing because of safety or whatever. Wants age verification on operating systems at setup in his state, which is an actual law that was proposed in California a few months ago. Or you get JD Vance, who is essentially the candidate of Palantir, who is associated with Peter Thiel, and has a pretty shady backstory and history himself. It's like you're not really voting for a real person on either side.
I'm like, at the end of the day, between the two votes or so, and I've seen how JD Vance is compared to Gavin Newsom. I'm like, it's kind of pretty obvious who'd you want to vote for compared to JD Vance and Gavin Newsom. If Gavin Newsom is actually trying to run the US presidential election thing, I'm like, at the end of the day, you got to pick the lesser of evil, to be honest. US elections, pick between these two bad choices. Well, to be honest, like I always say, pick your poison at the end of the day, I'm like, which one do you want? Do you want the lesser of evil the most, to be honest? Like I've seen some stuff about JD Vance. I don't know too much about JD Vance, to be honest. Like I said, it's like none of the US stuff like really concerns me, to be honest. It doesn't even matter who really they choose. It's gonna be bad either way. But at the end of the day, do you want JD Vance? Not JD Vance. Do you want Gavin Newsom to become the president? Ask yourself that. Do you really want that person to be the president? If I had to choose, I'd probably be like, no. No, I've heard a lot of messed up shit about that guy, to be honest, especially because how he was in California. I don't know if he's still the leader of California or not, but I'm just saying.
You're not voting for a real tried and true American who's there to represent you. You're voting for an extension of the state in red coloring or blue coloring. It's essentially picking which flavor icy would you like, red icy or blue icy. It's the same fucking thing at the end of the day. It's a slushy. It's just got a little bit of a different tinge to it depending on what color you pick, right? So that's pretty much where we're at politically. So do we vote our way out of constant surveillance? No. Vote our way out of constant foreign wars that don't benefit us? No, you don't. What exactly can you do? Well, I will say this. This is my personal advice because it is very imperative that nobody would ever do something like
Hunter
this.
Biden.
And just so you know not to do this, I want to provide
Jesus
you a map
Christ.
of locations where you absolutely should not go. These are the locations of flock cameras, okay? It's at this URL on the screen and it'll be in the description as well. You should not go to any of these flock camera locations that are being used against your will to spy on you and on the American people. And I especially, genuinely, especially because this is illegal, keep in mind, I would not recommend that you use high-powered 5-watt lasers and shine them into the lens of these cameras to destroy the sensors inside of these cameras, because that would be vandalism and it would render these cameras inoperable until they're replaced, which would mean they couldn't be used to spy on people, which we need that because make us all safer. So please do not go to your local flock camera, approach it from the rear while also making sure to obfuscate your identity.
Yeah, but you were just flashing the website for it though. Like you're not really insinuating on doing it, but you're kind of like, read between the lines kind of type of situation, you know?
In any way possible. Make sure you do your research on how to do that. And please do not spray paint the cameras. Do not knock the cameras down. Do not vandalize them. Do not do anything to them. And keep in mind, the map of locations is down there. Do not do this because those are flock cameras and it's not okay. So don't go there and do that. And also, please don't.
He's using reverse psychology.
Keep in mind that if you somehow were to vandalize them and get away with this, they will likely be replaced free of charge by Flock within a couple of days. So in order to really render them ineffective for a long period of time, definitely do not return to the same camera at a different time and re-vandalize it. That would be really illegal and bad. We're just realistically at a point where all of these things are...
I don't really like these kinds of things in my personal opinion. I'm not really a huge fan of the hint judge, nudge nudge kind of type of situation thing. I know what he's insinuating, to be honest. I'm like, come on, man. It's not rocket science, okay? But I'm like, this is probably not the right way to do things in my personal opinion. But like I said, that's just me though. Like I said, a lot of this information, I don't know much of this information. This is a little bit out of my expertise, but like I said, maybe the people who do know about this can inform me down in the comment sections at least. They can probably let me know what they actually think. Is he wrong? Is he right? How do you feel? Like I kind of need to know about this. Like I said, this is out of my expertise. Okay, all right.
Going on.
It's
all of these problems,
they're
kind of coexisting, they're co-competing in a way for everybody's attention. What sparingly little amount of attention most people have left for the real world.
I'm like not vandalizing. That's a start to begin with. That's basically what I'm saying, It's because he's using reverse psychology. That's why,
Than the effects of these things on our society. And it really is like we all have our fucking heads in the sand. And those of the people who don't have their heads stuck in the sand trying to ignore what's going on, they kind of don't know what to do, it feels like. People are just like, well, it's just the way things are, Well, then we can't be surprised at what we get, can we? If everybody is just, oh, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if there's anything we can do. Not really sure how we expect anything to change. Not really sure how we expect the world to get any better. I mean, realistically, imagine if everybody thought that throughout the history of humanity. Fuck it, it's not worth trying. This whole American Revolution concept you guys got going on, yeah, count me out, man. Fuck the new country. Fuck the 13 colonies. I'm rocking with the king. Which, by the way, that was actually a sentiment that many people in the colonies did hold. But my point is, if everybody is in this mentality of, oh, fuck it, there's no reason to try, there's no way we can fix this problem, it's illegal to go vandalize the flock cameras in my neighborhood, it's illegal for Americans to rise up and actually do something. If everybody is just gonna think that way forever, well then fuck it. What are we even here for? Why are we even having the conversation? Why not just roll over and accept it? You know what I mean? And I don't think anybody really wants to roll over and accept it. Nobody, I think, wants to deal with the fucking constant shit that we're dealing with. But the problem is we're not dealing with it. You know, that's kind of the problem that we as a country have. Is honestly, like the Epstein files thing, everybody saw in plain day what happened. You know, everyone watched as essentially the whole government, minus maybe like 5%, worked to cover up and suppress this for all this time. You know, even before the Trump administration, like people have known this stuff for years, decades even. People have known about this shit going on, and no one stood up and did anything. No one stood up and made anything right. And then now everybody is seeing it openly, right? Like the files, some of them are out there. You know, you can go see what's going on in some of them.
Yeah.
And even then it's just like, well, people don't give a fuck. People are just like, oh, everybody who runs my country is a pedophile or is allowing pedophilia. Fuck it, you know.
I'm like, at the end of the day, like, what can they do? You know, I think like the only way they can do it so is to have like a revolution, I guess. Like, that's kind of like the only thing you can basically do is kind of like overthrow the entire government system. But then like you would have to bring in some new people to step in for that role as well if you do overtake it though. But at the end of the day, who's gonna actually do that actually? Like, who's really going to actually do that, you know? Either do nothing about it or do that. Not that I would vandalize anything, but I understand the feeling of helplessness. Revolution is not happening in the US. I don't think it's happening either, to be frankly honest. They need the old reliable like the French back in the days. I'm like, the only way like you can like America can, I guess, quote unquote heal, right? This is just my theory or so, right? Like I said, I'm coming from the void, right? The void is completely different playing field compared to the US in general, right? Is that like, you know, in order for you to like, you know, you just overtake and remove the old people that are in charge or so and replace it with like new younger generation who are not associated with any of those people of those parties, you know, and then they can be able to like, you know, I guess like show the entire Epstein stuff unredacted and everything like that, and then basically hold people accountable for it. So, and even then, on top of that, when it came to the Epstein stuff, a lot of people were just only talking about it because it was the popular thing to talk about, to be honest. As in, like, I'm talking about like the other people, not the actual people who knew about it and like were talking about it for like a while or so. I'm talking about like the new people try to come in. I saw the Epstein stuff, but the problem is I didn't see all of it. I just only saw like bits and pieces of it. I was trying to know about it, but I'm like I'm so uninformed about the Epstein stuff. Like I knew the major stuff, right? But I'm just talking about like the little itty bitty like gritty stuff about it, you know? You need to have like 80% of the population or something like that to be a successful revolution, and you can't get 60% of the US to agree on anything, let alone a revolution. I'm like, yeah, it is pretty true. Like I said, you have to get a good majority of people to overthrow, you know, the government system to begin with, but I don't think it's gonna happen at all, to be frankly honest. I really don't think so. Unless like something crazy happens, but we got the alien files before Epstein files. Oh yeah, that is true. We got the alien stuff too as well.
Box combos, you know, some shit like that, right? It's just, I don't know. We do need to pay more attention, though. We do need to give more of a fuck. Young people need to show up and do something. Like, most of the people watching this video, you're under the age of 35, mostly Gen Z, you know what I mean? There are things that you can do. Now, politically, are we going to vote our way out of everything? No. But there are some ways that we can exert politics to be in our favor. There are ways that you can locally band together, put people in place in your city or in your districts that you can actually hold accountable. You can run for local elections yourself. In most places, even if I'm 21, I can't run for president. Most of you watching this video, you can run for mayor or county commissioner or judge or anything, no matter what. There is no age limit. Run. If you want to make a fucking difference where you live, you have to be the one to make a difference. You have to be the one to say something, to do something, anything. You know what I mean? Even if it's just organizing people locally.
Peacefully, not violently, because we all seen those people who are very violent or so, you know, trying to do that sort of stuff. You know, I've seen the videos from the US when, you know,
like, hey, we need to band up against fucking data centers. We want any large-scale data center project banned from our county. It's not happening here. That is possible. You can do things like that. Are you going to go out and create a third party that's going to win the 2028 election? Probably not. Can you make the people in your local community that have ruined your life over and over again for the last 20 years in politics homeless? Yeah, you actually can do that. Can you break the law and vandalize flock cameras? Yeah, you technically can do that, but I wouldn't encourage it because it's illegal. Can you just refuse to comply with this shit? Yeah, you actually can. Turns out you actually can. There are some ways that you can actually effectively fight back. And as we've seen from the system many times before, if people even just put up a modicum of resistance and make things even remotely uncomfortable for them and rock the boat even slightly, they get scared as a motherfucker. Remember, there are 450 million known guns in the American populace's hands. There's 330 million of us. There's what, 1.5 million of them? We do hold some leverage, just saying. Anyway,
That's a wild thing to say at the very end of the video, to be honest. Holy shit, dude.
with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at SubTheOptimist. Make sure to check out Shop.
I don't know about that. Like, I get it, right? He's a commentary channel, right? I usually use his videos specifically like behind the scenes though, but I don't know, man. That's a wild thing to say at the very end or so, at least, in my personal opinion. That is a dangerous statement at the end. It is pretty dangerous, to be honest. I will first believe alien cat girls are more likely than the US Revolution. True, that is very true. I have more. There's a higher percentage for alien cat girls, to be honest. Do something. What's this guy doing? Is just farming internet. He's not gonna use his paycheck on next genuine candidate and do stuff for his campaign. Like I said, honestly, personally, like I said, it just really depends. Like, I'd be curious to see what the comment section, because I know I do have some US audiences that watch me and everything. So I'm very super curious to see what they think about this video. Like I said, I like to read, I like to read the comment sections as much as I can, right? I can't watch, I can't really like, you know, read everybody's comments, but I try to read it at least as much as possible and see like, what's going on specifically about this. I wonder what his opinion on the 2 a.m. AMND was in the last few years. Oh, okay, I see. Like I said, I don't really know too much about this, but I'm very curious to see. Like I said, I need to learn a little bit more. Like I said, I can't really throw my own opinion on it, but I do want to see like how they think, like what my audience thinks about this. I'm like, that last statement was a kind of wild thing to say in my personal opinion. Like I said, that's just me though. That's just me, but hey, you do you, man. Like I said, I just watch his videos for like entertainment purposes only. I don't really like, you know, I don't really personally like am gonna get persuaded by my content creator that I watch or so, but well, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an expertise on this, okay? Like I said, I can read my comment sections and then they can tell me how they feel and whatnot, and we'll see. Estuvo interesante, aunque no quiero opinar porque no sabe nada de la tema de parece que hay más. Sí, yo creo que sí, porque el problema es como yo casi como no sé mucho de verdad de qué está pasando de los Estados Unidos y todo eso. Yo quiero ver qué piensan los gente que son, que viven allá en Estados Unidos y todo eso. ¿Qué piensan ellos de verdad de toda esta cosa que está pasando ahorita? Yo just quiero ver cómo se siente ellos, porque de verdad yo casi no puedo decir nada y yo casi estoy más o menos de que a ver qué dicen los gentes que viven en los Estados Unidos. Eso que yo quiero ver si es verdad o cómo se siente. Pero de verdad, la última cosa que dijo él ahí en el último parte del video, diciendo esto casi es I don't know. Like I said, that last statement was a little bit crazy in my personal opinion. But like I said, that's just me though. But anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. And honestly, you guys can let me know down in the comment sections how you feel about this video. Like, tell me like what's wrong, what's right. You know, what are you specifically where your stance is at? All this other stuff. Like I said, specifically, I'm just kind of like I said, I just come from the void, and I can only say my own two opinions about the void in general, right? And how we do things in that specific realm compared to here. Like I said, you guys can just let me know. But yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. And peace.